So today we're spiritually analyzing Billie Eilish, famous pop star, also teen star, child star, however you want to call it, and singer-songwriter, amazing performer. We're looking into her soul, first using psychology to get her mind, then we're going a little bit deeper to understand the karmic patterns and spiritual evolution she's meant to undergo using astrology, and finally alchemy, which is the personal transformational process I would recommend to her if she was my client. So let's get started. First, with psychology, aesthetic. Just by the way she presents herself, you can tell that Billie Eilish is somebody that very much focuses and emphasizes her aesthetic, the material, artistic way she presents herself. She has a great fashion sense, depending on who you ask, but you understand that she tries to present herself in a way that is appealing to the eye, using colors, using different fits and framings and things of that nature. Also, with her music videos, she's very much somebody who wants to catch the attention visually, not only sonically, despite the fact that she's a musician and a singer. Old soul. If you ever seen, I'm not really sure exactly what the interviews are for, it might be Vanity Fair. It's some magazine where she does interviews every year on her birthday, starting when I think she was 17 or 16. And in those interviews, you can see how poised she is, how well-spoken she is. Also the fact that she was able to write such powerful songs like Ocean Eyes at such a young age and reached an amazing amount of success at only like 15, 16 years old. Essentially a prodigy. And with that comes an old soul. You can tell that she came into this incarnation with information and understandings from her past lives. She didn't come in with a blank slate like many other people. She had connections and a relation to some of the information she was able to pick up in her past incarnations, which is essentially what an old soul is. It just means that you have a closer connection, understanding, you've retained more information and wisdom from your previous incarnations, and so you kind of start off ahead of where most people start off when you're born. Guarded. You can see with some of her style, she wears baggy clothes on occasion. I'm not sure exactly how she dresses currently. I don't keep up with her that closely. But there was periods where she would wear baggy clothes, not really wanting to show a lot of skin. People didn't even really know what her body looked like until she did some, magazine reveal about her, showing her figure in a more feminine way. But with that, when somebody wears baggy clothes or conceals their body or doesn't really go out into the world showing off a lot of skin, not necessarily a bad thing, not a criticism, just more so it's a sign that that person is hiding something or does not want to show off for whatever reason. And so there's a hidden quality to Billie Eilish in the way that she presents herself, the way that she forms her aesthetic. Finally, alternative. There was a couple ways I could have went with this. I could have said nonconformist, I could have said rebellious, but there's not really that vigor, that energy of a true nonconformist, a true rebel. She's not like a Kanye West or a Doja Cat. There's a little bit less energy. It's more of just somebody who wants to pave her own way and walk her own path. She is agreeable. She knows how to make music that people like. Obviously, she wouldn't be a very famous pop star otherwise, but also she gives her a unique twist and her own bend to it, like even Bad Guy, the way that she's able to create her music. It's not classic conventional pop. She's her own thing, which is really cool and something that is commendable for somebody who's so young, going back to the whole old soul energy. So now we're going to go to the astrology, the more fun part of the analysis. So we always focus on the most important axis, the most important part of the chart, which is the South Node, North Node, Q2 Rahu axis. It is the path of a person's consciousness. We start off with the Q2 comfort zone. It's where we have spent a lot of time developing over many lifetimes, the energies, this part of the chart. Rahu, North Node, is the part of the chart that needs to be balanced, be further developed to have more of an equal equilibrium, energetically speaking. So this is the starting line, this is the finish line. You can already see that she's starting off with her Venus and Sun well developed in Sagittarius in the 10th house. So 10th house is the public. It's the most visible aspect of the chart. So it should come to no surprise that she gained fame, notoriety, public exposure at a very young age. Also, the Sun signifies leadership, power, status, visibility, right? It is the king. So she already had this energy, this familiarity, this comfort with being a high status, high visibility person. You also have Venus there with the Sun. Venus is our aesthetics, art, creativity, sensuality, more human love, romantic love. And that means with her South Node there, that means she finds comfort in those things, in being sensual, in being romantic, creative, aesthetics, kind of what we mentioned before, showing up in her chart. And then with Sagittarius, when you have a Ketu South Node in Sagittarius, it's all about vision. Sagittarius is the archer, so it's all about aiming at something, finding the point that you want to hit, releasing the bow with skill and accuracy, the best of your possibility. So she's came in with this incarnation already having developed the ability to be in the public face, to have a vision, creativity with Venus, leadership, that already natural aura with the Sun there. But because Ketu is something we've developed so much over past lives, there is a pathological energy to it. So she's gonna have this need to be perceived in a certain way by the public. She wants her visions to be perfect. She wants to feel like she's perfect. And also her romantic relationships and her aesthetics and her art to be perfect and be perceived as that. And there's gonna be a lot of self-doubts. There's gonna be a lot of internal struggle. Also, when you have a malefic like the Sun and Ketu with another planet like Venus, there's gonna be a shaming happening. So therefore, growing up, I mean, she got famous at a very young age, so she was in the public eye growing up. There's a lot of pressure on her. And so when you have a shamed planet, in particular Venus in this instance, you're gonna have this feeling of belittling. So she's gonna feel insecurity, but also kind of diminishing of her art, feeling like it's never good enough, feeling like she can always create something better, that she's not living up to par. Because when you have the Sun doing a shaming of any planet, in this case with Ketu on Venus, the expectations are very high. So she's always has very high expectations of herself. That most likely was pushed on her or presented to her by some type of authority figure. Could be your father, which is represented by the Sun in some instances. It also could just be authority figures or masculine figures, patriarchal figures. I mean, that's kind of what the Sun is masculine, leader, power, king. So some kind of figure in her life had high expectations of her. And it might not even been like a malicious thing. It just might have been somebody who saw a lot of potential, saw a lot of talent in a very young girl, and created a bar that was very, very hard to reach, impossible to reach. But from their perspective, they believed that she could do it. And when you're a kid, you know, the authority figures that you experience in your life, you take it to heart. You fully believe what they tell you. And so she has this constant raising of the bar that she needs to do better and better and more and more. And in the 10th house too, it's the big thing. So she feels like she really has to succeed in a material sense, which is the 10th house. She has to be materially successful. She has to continue to strive and get bigger and better. And if she doesn't grow and become wiser and more creative and more talented, then something's wrong with her. She doesn't live up to that potential that was placed on her at a very young age. And when you go to the Rahu axis, North Node, you have Saturn here. Rahu Saturn is very painful. This area of the chart is very painful for her. What is the 4th house? It's our home life. It can also signify the mother. It can also signify real estate, and on a deeper level though, most importantly, our emotional state. So most likely, in exchange for her material success, for achieving so much at a young age, her emotional needs were not properly taken care of by the people around her. she's used to repressing her emotions, not focusing on what she needs personally, but focusing on being successful, doing it big, and fulfilling her long-term visions and meeting the lofty expectations that she can never truly meet, because it's always a moving bar. As soon as you go to the next level, you go to the next level and the next level. And it's just like this vicious cycle of you're chasing the carrot and you get hit with the stick. Well, Rahu, Saturn, that's the stick, and it's painful as fuck. And in Gemini, what she's meant to be doing at some point, developing her home life, making it more comfortable, and fulfilling her emotional needs, getting in touch with her emotional needs, her true emotional needs, by partnering with somebody or communicating that, or developing skills to cultivate her emotional needs and give herself the emotional fulfillment she truly needs. Focusing less on the material success, because she's reached so much success at such a young age. She's done so much already. In my opinion, would be best to now balance out the scales a little bit, since you're so OP in one area of your life, Billy, if you're watching this. It would be best to then add a little bit of balance by developing certain skills, learning certain techniques, or communicating with people. These are all Gemini significations to cultivate your emotional inner world. 10th house is the outer world, the public. 4th house is the inner world. And also with two vicious malefics, cruel planets in the 4th house, that is a yoga, a planetary permutation, signifies a lot of self-deceit. So she probably believes that she's fine, and people around her obviously believe that she's fine because she's so successful and she's this figure, she's this title, right? She has the status of the sun, the attractiveness and the aesthetic of Venus and the creativity. She has an exalted Jupiter, so she's super talented and able to express herself. So she has all these external things telling her that she did it. But there's going to be this level of unease, discomfort, pain, even fear whenever she's home and hanging out and just doing nothing. For her to relax and just really tap into what she needs instead of focusing on the external, it's going to be very difficult for her. And she probably doesn't know why. Because of that Rahu-Saturn combination, there's that self-deceit, like I said. And so that means she's also going to be deceitful in the way she presents herself. She's probably somebody who's like, I'm fine, I'm okay, I don't need anything, I'm fine. I'm strong, I'm successful, I'm this figure. But she's human, like us all. We all have needs. And she needs to develop the ability to notice that, hey, you're a human being. You have flaws, we all have flaws. You can acknowledge that. You can acknowledge your fears. You can heal your trauma, focus on your inner world, and also enjoy the successes that you have rightfully earned through your talent and hard work. So with all that said, let's go to the alchemy, the transformational process that I would recommend to her. If you were my client, inner work. I mean, I kind of just said it right there, why it's so important. But to make it more granular, to give a little bit more detail to it, a little bit more color, journaling is one way, is a skill she can develop. Gemini, a skill, a tool she can use to start looking inside of herself, developing awareness of her emotional needs. Introspection. You can do this through talk therapy or just general sitting down in nature and just staring out in the distance and just allowing your mind to wander. Also meditation. She can focus the mind, continuously look inside of herself, and look inside of herself to figure out what's going on. Why do I feel unease? Where is this shame coming from? Why do I have such lofty expectations of myself and the people in my life? Because Venus also rules our relationships. So that means she's going to have high bar for the people in her life and her relationships. And there may be times where she belittles the connections she has with people or acts like it doesn't matter, like she doesn't need anybody. She can just have sex and be free and be famous and whatever. But deep down, you really do need that Venetian romantic one-on-one connection with somebody who sees you for who you really are. But until she can see herself for who she really is, she will not attract somebody who will see her for who she really is. Radical honesty. So really just continuously using that inner work to figure out what her true feelings are, and then being able to share that with her brother, Phineas, who I'm sure she's very close with, or people that she trusts, people that she feels like she can confide in, which can be difficult as somebody who's an A-list celebrity. It can be difficult to find people that you can trust fully to tell your deepest, darkest secrets. A therapist would be really powerful if she doesn't already have one. She might already have one. Continuously utilizing that person as a mirror. So she needs to, use her radical honesty, sharing her true self with somebody else to act as that mirror. Finally, emotional release. Because you have the fourth house with Rahu and Saturn, the North Node, and Saturn in the house of our emotions, home life, there's going to be some seriously repressed emotions, especially with the fact that she's so materially successful. So, accessing, finding that fear, that trauma, whatever that separation trauma was, whatever that emotional burden, baggage is, might be from a past life even, going deep. You might need to do an ayahuasca session, but starting off with an emotional release to really get deep into your subconscious mind and finding out, okay, what is going on truly at the core, deep down? What needs to be healed? Because at the end of the day, only we know. I, you, her, everyone on earth, only you know for yourself what needs to be healed. You just have to look inside and do the work. And if you want a guide to do the work, the things I mentioned here about developing your inner emotional state, I have a transformation guide down below. You can get the link in the description. Also, I'd love to hear your comments or critiques or whatever your opinions are on the analysis. Cheers.